When I look at your life and I go back, I mean, you're on the cover of Time as Person of the Year. And I think back to 9/11. It was a year before I launched DrPhil in 2002. We launched it on 9/11 the next year. And I watched what you did. This country could have gone in a lot different direction, and there could have been a lot of widespread panic. And I thought a lot of the unification of this country was because of what you did in those streets in those days afterwards. And I started out by saying how much I appreciated what you did back then, how much I admired what you did back then. And now, after that, I would have bet everything I could gather that you would soon be president of the United States. But now, at this point in your life, you're disbarred, indicted, have huge multi-million-dollar judgments against you, ridiculed by people. Your approval rating has dropped from the highest of almost any leader in this country to among the lowest. Is there anything you would do different? Is there anything you would change?
That's a really good question. And maybe it's an inadequacy of mine that I can't think of one that I would do differently, because I know a lot of people say this, but I look in the mirror every day and I pray every night. And I think I do what I think is right in the same way that I did 25 years ago, except the numbers have changed and the success of the other side has changed in getting unbelievably strong control of the narrative, even stronger than those of us who think we resist the narrative, think we have. I think they've brainwashed us in a way that Marx and Engels and Stalin and Z would be proud of. I mean, how can I be fairly judged by a country that is led by people who give a parade in San Francisco for Xi Jinping, have Chinese people participating in the parade, thousands, led by Nancy Pelosi and approved by Harris, led very much by Newsom. I'm sure Mr. 30 times China was there, who's running for vice president.
But have they won and you lost?
But wait. And they're having them cheer him. It's unthinkable that 40 or 50 years ago, we'd have had a parade like that for Hitler or for Stalin. This man has killed more people than them. They adore him, and they hate us who are telling you the truth about us and want to destroy. Isn't this battle bigger? That Giuliani is just one. Get rid of him. He's just one guy. They have not won the battle yet.
Listen,
but they're winning it.
I can't tell you the number of death threats that I get and have gotten for saying that our elite universities are fostering intellectual rot by allowing this anti-Semitic and pro-Palestinian demonstrations on our campuses.
Right.
And I've been to Israel. I've interviewed Prime Minister Netanyahu. I've interviewed President Trump. I've talked about these things, that our values have spun out of control by the fact that we're allowing that kind of rhetoric and calling it education. I couldn't agree with you more. My point is, if they have succeeded in marginalizing your voice, have they won by marginalizing you, by getting you so agitated and so riled that you haven't been president, that you aren't able to command the kind of respect and focus to deliver the message that you're talking about?
Well, they foiled me in being president before this all started, so we can't count that. Have they reduced the number of people that admire me and follow me? Maybe yes, or maybe they increased it. I don't know. I do know that I only have one way of winning it, and that is proving the truth of what I consider my cause, their cause. Until we're honest about who they are and what they've done to people, we won't be fixed. I remember when I first got involved in this, I didn't believe they were as bad as they turned out to be. And I think an awful lot of other people are back where I used to be. They're not as bad as they turned out to be. And I'm a particular target because I'm particularly dangerous. It isn't a whole number of people that developed the criminal information on Joe Biden. It was there for 30 years. There's only one person who found it, and that's me. It was given to me by an intermediary with John Mac Isaacs because no one else that John would give it to had the guts to go with it. I went to a very distinguished United States senator and asked him if he would do it, and he said no, he wouldn't do it to another senator. I'm the sole reason that the information came out in the first place. I gave it to, eventually, the FBI didn't want it. I gave it to Hannity and to John Solomon, so I'd have some allies. Then I gave it to the State Department, and the head of the State Department, who wants to be president, was afraid to go forward with it. Then when I finally got the hard drive, which proved that everything I was giving them a year and a half earlier was true, they basically, that's when they started. Well, actually, the FBI started to follow me the day I made my first allegation against Biden. So they followed me and took my iCloud account for 3 to 4 years and have done everything to try to destroy me. The thing about my being an alcoholic, which is completely untrue, it's a rumor that they started. I'm not even going to mention 100 others that never stuck. I don't know that anybody has a proper understanding of how pervasive and effective Chinese, particularly, and Russian propaganda is. They've lived off it for 80 to 90 years. So they've demonized me in the minds of people that are susceptible to that. Demonize me completely or demonize me partially. And the people that they've demonized me partially, I can get back. So I try to do things like I show them, you hated me because I talked to you about Russian collusion not being true. And I said some really tough things, but isn't the final result that I'm telling the truth, that Russian collusion is not true, and Joe Biden and that whole group are lying to you about it? And isn't it true that the idea that Trump offered a bribe to the president of Ukraine untrue? And didn't I tell you all about that? And isn't it true that there was a bribe to the president of Ukraine? And here it is. So now I haven't gotten there yet with the election, but I'm getting there.
Who discovered and delivered the Hunter Biden laptop?
Me. I handed it. Here's exactly how it happened. I got a letter from John Mac Isaacs to me saying, you're my last chance. Would you please see it? Would you please meet with me? I was in Washington representing President Trump on a hearing having to do with the impeachment. My lawyer, Bob Costello, who was also another colleague of mine from 35 years ago in the U.S. Attorney's Office, who I can trust with my life, like Ken Caruso, I had him looking at my mail to pick out. I needed a very experienced investigator because I was getting, I had all kinds of allegations, about Trump and Biden, stuff that's really wacky. So when he looked at this, he first thought it was a little wacky. And as he looked at it more, he called me up and said, I have a hunch. I want to follow up on that. Is it okay with you, boss? And I said, yeah, I like the way that sounds. It sounds like the guy's desperate. So we called him up, he visited with him, calls me back right away, said, you got to meet with the guy. I think the guy is telling the truth. So long, short, we had an undercover guy that we knew from way back, Ukrainian, Russian. He comes back in 3 weeks, that's all true. You're not going to believe it. You can't believe what these dumb did there. They said they are so dirty there that 1/3 of that damn Congress probably should go to jail. And I said, well, how are we going to get it? He said, well, I don't know how we're going to get it because the ambassador's working for them. And we started in, and I decided the best way to do it before we did anything else was to interview the Ukrainian witnesses myself. We didn't have time to be, chased around. And when I first got it, this could be equally true or false. I had gotten plenty of things that were false that I ran down and I said, oh. So they wouldn't let me, the State Department, I'm the president's lawyer, wouldn't let me go to Ukraine. They told the president it was too dangerous. I have 3 fatwas against me. The Iranians tried to kill me twice. The mafia votes in favor of me. Who's going to kill me? Right? So I go off, can't get them. So I set up a Zoom call with them at a time in which I didn't even know what a Zoom, let's do a Zoom call. So I did a Zoom call with the prosecutor who was fired, the prosecutor who took over, the guy who was investigating the case. They seemed to me to lay out an absolutely perfect case of bribery against Biden. And then they sent me a document that sealed the whole thing. They sent me a document of a money laundering transaction of $4.3 billion that went from Ukraine to Latvia, Latvia back to Ukraine, Ukraine back to Latvia, and Latvia to Cyprus, and then Cyprus to Joe's son's bank account in New York, shared with 4 people. Hunter's partner, Devon Archer, who's now in jail for fraud, the son of John Kerry, and the grandson of Whitey Archer, another one of their business partners who the press conveniently leaves out of the Biden crime family story, one of the major organized criminals in America. So when I saw that, I said, oh my God, we got a real case here. So we brought him in. He gave us the laptop. We went to our own FBI people, which I have many. I used to be the lawyer for the FBI Association. I have an award, a Lifetime Achievement Award from the FBI. They haven't taken it back yet. And I have an award for, FBI Man of the Year. When they gave me the Lifetime Achievement Award, part of it says that I prosecuted the most significant cases they had in the 20th century. So if I go to the old FBI agents, I would say 80% are on my side. They know what I'm telling you is true. They know that this is completely false. Now, maybe I could have been more subtle. Maybe.
Well, so I'm asking you, there's nothing you would change to get to a different place.
I don't know what I would have done to get me to a different place. Maybe a different person with more skill at being diplomatic, but maybe if I had that skill at being diplomatic, I'd have gotten scared the way a lot of them did. So, some people say to me, you were crazy to do all this. Well, maybe it's true. So nobody else would do it, but somebody was crazy.